Hi guys, this is Evan. We're taking a look at PT14 Game 1 today. And this game's got a very unusual rule about supervision of employees that we've got to keep track of. It's actually a set of rules. And I would warn you that this game is unusual and it's very unlikely that you're going to see anything like this come test day. For one thing, it's a fairly difficult game. Probably harder than a Game 1 would be on a modern exam. Nowadays, Game 1s are uniformly fairly easy, whereas this one is maybe quick to solve when you see how to do it, but it's very difficult to set up. So I don't think you would see this for a Game 1, and I don't think you would see something quite this unusual. So view this as an outlier, something to just kind of give you practice on handling curveballs when they come at you. Okay, so let's take a look at the setup here. We've got a newly formed company that has 5 employees, F, G, H, K, and L. And we're assigning them to positions. So this is an assignment game. And sometimes people call it a matching game. It's very similar to grouping. But what we're really doing is we know we've got this extra category, the jobs that they're doing, right? And we just got to assign these people to all those jobs. I like to think of it, we then find out that we've got these 3 different positions. There's either you can be a president, you can be a manager, or you can be a technician. And to me, that's like setting up a clear hierarchy, because then we learn that they're supervising each other. So in my head, I'm thinking of this like a hierarchy where our P's are going to be up top, we'll put our managers in the middle, and our T's down below. And that's how you'll set up your tree where these people get assigned to these various positions. So let's dive into the rules here. We're told only the president is not supervised. And then next we have other employees are each supervised by exactly one employee who is either the president or the manager. Okay, fine, I don't quite know how to diagram this yet, so I'm just holding off. Each supervised employee holds a different position than his or her supervisor, which says that it all works down in a hierarchy. You have to be supervised by somebody who's above you, which I think makes a lot of intuitive sense. So it's easier to keep track of that way. Okay, and now it tells us there's exactly one president. So finally we're getting some things that we can do more specifically. So this is our blank space where that P is going to go. I'm using the technique that we like for assignment of keeping track of these subcategories with a little subscript here. So this is the spot where one of these guys is going to go, and they'll be the president. Now, at least one of the employees who the president supervises is a manager. Okay, so how do we keep track of this supervision stuff? Well, I just draw it like maybe I draw a hierarchy. If I was a cop or something and I was trying to describe how a gang works. So we'll draw this little thing that means this guy's managing this manager right here. And there has to be somebody that he's supervising. Okay, each manager supervises at least one employee. So we know at minimum this manager is supervising one technician. And now it helps here to start looking at distributions. Well, we've only got 2 people left. We know we got the president. He supervises at least one manager. And then each manager supervises at least one person, so one technician. There's only 2 people left. So what are when you see that it's getting pretty limited in terms of possibilities like that, it's best to just get those possibilities back both out on paper. So this is like a game where we're splitting into 2 different main scenarios. Okay, we're splitting up the game into these 2 worlds that cover the 2 possible assignment distributions. So one possible one is that we've got 2 managers. So we can have 2 managers, and then we'd have a second technician down here. You know, I kind of like it if we keep this M up on top of the line. So then we'd have another technician here. That's our world 1, right? And then the only other possible order is that we'd have our president up here, and then we have one manager, just one manager, and then 3 technicians. Make sure you pause and make sure you can see that that's all that's possible here. Sorry, my drawing's getting a little scrappy, but yeah, so president, manager, and 3 technicians down below. And then clearly, you know, he'd be supervising this manager, and then that manager is supervising 2 people, right? And then the president is supervising this T right over here. And I guess if we're covering the supervision stuff over here, we need to have it so the managers are both supervised by the president, and to follow the rule that each manager supervises at least one person, well, then we need to make sure that they each have a little technician that they're supervising. Now, it's interesting to note at this point that it looks maybe possible that we could have the P just supervising this one manager here, and then the manager supervising all 3 of the technicians. But it actually turns out that that's not possible, because we then get some additional rules. Okay, F does not supervise any employee. So now we know F is definitely always in this row down here, right? So maybe put a little arrow where pointing F has to go in this technician row. He can't be up in the president or manager areas. Now we get this rule, G supervises exactly 2 employees. So where can G possibly go? Well, G could be up here, right? G could be right here supervising 2, or it could be here. And my thinking was that I want to just get all these possibilities out on paper, right? So let's try it first. We got G, and then manager, manager, T, T, right? That's our world 1 here. And now the second possible version of that, sorry, there's no other versions possible of that, because if we put him down here, and then he's supervising 2 technicians, that leaves no one for this poor other manager to supervise. So for world 1, this is the only possible combination. So we can just write that up in our main diagram. G is right there. Now this one, we have to split up into 2 different possibilities. Either we can have G here, and he's supervising 1 manager and 1 technician, or our third possibility is that we can have G hanging out in the manager position. So G would be in a manager position and would be supervising 2 of these T's, right? And then we don't know who the president is, but they're supervising both G and the remaining technician. So hopefully you can do that a little faster than I did, because I'm having to talk through it. But the key intuition came when I just saw, okay, well, we know this part is set in stone just from the rules. And looking at it, there's not a whole lot of other combinations for how to place the 2 remaining people, you know, once we've used up 3. So then I just go ahead and figure it all out. So this is world number 2 here, and this is world number 3 down here. And it's probably actually best to call this 2A and call this 2B, because they're actually the same general setup. Okay, so with that, it should be pretty easy to fill things in, right? We just keep track of the fact that F is hanging out down below We know pretty much where G is. Should be pretty easy to fill in the remaining parts and solve these questions pretty quickly. So let's do that. A lot of work up front, maybe, but should be a very quick solve from here, making it not the hardest game ever. We're going to skip 1, which is the acceptable assignment 1. Actually, you know what? Let's just do it. And normally I'd say you take your rules one at a time and you see where they're violated and you're left with one standing. But here it actually might be easier to just kind of check it against our setups and see if it's possible, right? A looks at G and then 3 managers. G is president and 3 managers. That's no good. We don't see that anywhere in our setups, right? B, on the other hand, has G as a president, H as a manager, and 3 down below, right? And that's absolutely perfect. We see that right here in this one. So you know B is good right away. And you can check the other ones quickly if you want. Not always a good idea to deviate from your usual strategy, right? I mean, you can solve this the same way you do any other acceptability question. But sometimes when you've got all your possibilities out on paper like this, it might be a little quicker to just check against those possibilities. So something to keep in mind when you're doing acceptability questions. Okay, 2, which of the following must be true? I just read them and see if it's something we can know from our main diagram work here. There are at most 3 technicians. Yeah, that's definitely true. Say you had 4 technicians. Well, then there's no president or there's no manager. And that's no good, right? The reason being that, say you try that setup, say we just have an empty president and then all technicians or something. Well, remember, G has to supervise exactly 2 people. So it's not possible to have any setups like that. Remember, just as it's not possible to have the president here, by himself, the manager supervising 3 technicians and the president just supervising 1 or anything like that. G having to supervise 2 employees is really the nexus of this game that limits the possibilities a lot for who supervises who. And that's why we end up with just these 3 combos. So anyways, for 2, A is what we're left with. There are at most 3 technicians. That's something we already know from our main setup. Okay, 3. Which of the following is a pair of employees who could be managers together? F and H? No, F can never be above the technician row, right? Because he has no supervisor. So that's gone immediately. B, F, and L? No, anything with F is out. G and K? No, anything with G is... Oh, wait, sorry. I can't be so hasty to eliminate that. G and K is managers together. Well, we'd have to put that in this setup right here, right? But then they're each just supervising 1, and that's illegal for G. So that's no good, right? Having G as the manager is only possible when he's by himself as a manager in our world 2B. Okay, D, G, and L, that's gone for the same exact reason as C was gone. So you're left with E as the right answer. K and L. K and L could be managers in this setup right here. Perfect. No big deal. Then F down below and the remaining person goes in that last technician spot. Okay, question 4. Which of the following could be true? Again, we're just kind of working with our big main setup that gives us a ton of information. Makes it easy to solve things. Okay, so there are exactly 2 managers. Yeah, that could be true. Oh, sorry, that's B. I gotta eliminate A first. There is exactly 1 technician? No, we don't see that anywhere. If you want to remember why, if you have 1 technician, well, then there'd have to be 3 managers, right? 3 managers. And then G can't supervise only 2 people. Say he does that, that leaves M unsupervised. So again, like I said, that G is really the key to the whole game, understanding what it means that G supervises exactly 2 employees. So B, there are exactly 2 managers. Yeah, that's fine. That's the way it is in our world number 1 over here. Okay, on to 5. If F is supervised by the president. So we know F is on the bottom row. So if he's supervised by the president, it's got to be one of these 2 orders here, right? F here or F here. And what must be true? You know, when you make that inference, I'd look for something that then easily solves it. You know, some information that we already know without filling in any more. And a quick scan of the answer choices reveals D, there is exactly 1 manager. Yeah, that's true in both of these setups here. So that gives us our correct answer. Pretty easy stuff. 6, the last problem. If K supervises exactly 2 employees. So to do that, the only way it's possible would be right here. You look anywhere else. Oh wait, or we could have K here. Sorry. Yeah, so these are possible for K supervising 2 employees. Which of the following must be true? A, F is supervised by K. I don't see why that has to be true, right? Can't we have F here or F here? So I'm crossing that one off. G is a manager. Nope, that's not true in both of those. G can move around. L is supervised. Does that have to be true? Heck yes, right? K and G are taking up both positions. There's no way to have L be president, which is the only one that's unsupervised. So we're left with that as the correct answer. L is supervised. Okay, just a little post-mortem. Pretty tough game. A lot of it's going to rely on your ability to stay calm and add in this extra supervising element. But other than that, it's just an assignment game where you're assigning these people up here to these positions, you know, and then it's got really what I would like to think of as a grouping component, because ultimately we have these 3 groups as well here, P, manager, and technician, and we slap them in, right? So it's a complicated game in that we're sort of doing 2 things at once. The assignment to these positions, and then we've got these groups that have hierarchical relations between them, this supervisory stuff. And rather than get all freaked out, the best thing is just to think about it the way you'd think of any old hierarchy, you know, if you're drawing it, you know, like branching off into different things, right? So keep this game in mind should you ever run into anything unusual like this hierarchy supervising stuff. But honestly, this is the only game I can think of that ever had it. It's a very early prep test 14. My guess is that they just decided to throw this whole concept right in the scrap heap. Okay, so that's the game. Hope you enjoyed. Take it easy. Bye.